And that's my cue to tell you about the grand state dinner, a 400-person soiree hosted by the Bidens in honor of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It was certainly a high-stakes dinner, but you see, it was also so much more, because Modi brought a secret weapon to the house, his comedy game. Seriously, he kept the audience in stitches. There were distinguished names and titans of industry. They had a vegetarian bash, because for the first time in recent history, the state dinner was entirely plant-based. It was also an unlikely celebration of fashion, replete with sequins and saris. We'll tell you all about it. Also, go back to the basics. Why is the tradition of state dinner such a big deal? And which ones have been the most memorable ones? Here's a report.
Creamy risotto infused with saffron, crisped millet cakes, portobello mushrooms. Looks delicious, right? But don't worry, we are not here to talk about elevating the mushroom, and our intention isn't to make you hungry. We are only talking about the White House state dinner, held in honor of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, which for the first time in recent history was entirely plant-based. That means no meat, no dairy, and no eggs. All thanks to the guest of honor, who is a strict vegetarian.
As some of you may know, Prime Minister Modi is a vegetarian. So we asked Chef Nina Curtis, a plant-based pioneer, to work with our White House chefs and create a stunning vegetarian menu.
And stunning it was. The food married classic American ingredients with distinctly Indian elements. In a palatable homage to India's rich cuisine, the food prominently featured saffron, a signature flavor of Indian cuisine, whose color is closely associated with the Hindu culture. And notice the nod to millet in the dishes, which makes complete sense. India is the world's leading millet producer, accounting for 20% of the global output. Prime Minister Modi has even promoted millets for global benefit on the world stage. Because here's more than a grain of truth. This wasn't just any meal. The dinner was about high-stakes diplomacy. So the menu was chosen with PM Modi's needs and preferences in mind. After all, the gala dinner was in his honor. And speaking of gala, just look at the guest list. Around 400 guests were invited to the dinner. An eclectic mix of government officials, business leaders, star athletes, and renowned artists. Business tycoons like Mukesh Ambani, who was there along with his wife Neeta, Anand Mahindra, Sundar Pichai, Chief Executive of Alphabet, Satya Nadella, Microsoft CEO, iconic tennis player Billie Jean King, filmmaker M. Night Shyamalan. In addition to this mix, a clutch of high-profile fashion figures attended, including designer Ralph Lauren and Indian entrepreneur Karishma Swali. Now the Biden administration tends to shy away from conversations about style, but the gala was clearly a friendly overture to the world of fashion, with sequins, saris, and saffron silks. But despite this pomp and pageantry, something else completely stole the show. The camaraderie between Biden and Modi, which was engulfed in heartwarming laughs. See for yourself.
Mr. Prime Minister, I had an Irish grandfather named Ambrose Finnegan, and he used to say that when you give a toast and you don't have any alcohol in your glass, you must do it with your left hand. You think I'm kidding? I'm not.
And we'll tell you what we aren't kidding about. How PM Modi brought his ace comedy game to the dinner. He cracked jokes about the time President Joe Biden wanted him to eat even though he was fasting, and about his lack of singing chops, referring to South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol, who surprised guests by getting up on stage during a White House state dinner, honoring him in April, and belted out a rendition of American Pie, one of his favorite songs.
Bad news on the doorstep. I couldn't have one more step. I can't remember if I tried when I read about his willow bride. Something touched me deep inside the day the music died.
This was definitely one of the most memorable state dinner moments. What were the others? State dinner for King George VI in 1939, when a British monarch set foot on American soil for the first time, and 200 years after the US declared its independence from Great Britain.
FDR invited King George VI and his wife Elizabeth to
A state dinner saw dance floor diplomacy.
Go to bed that night.
In 1976, then American President Gerald Ford danced with the late Queen of England. So did Princess Diana with John Travolta in 1985 in a state dinner by President Ronald Reagan. Then in 1987, in his first visit to the US, then Soviet General Secretary Mikhail Gorbachev arrived in Washington to sign the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. And last year, President Biden spent his first state dinner with French President Emmanuel Macron. They had hot dogs and partied until 1 a.m. You see, Washington state dinners are nights of glitzy entertainment. But don't be mistaken, under that guise, they are a chance to push foreign dignitaries to align with American interests. It looks like song and dance, but it's geopolitics. We'll tell you what we are talking about. The first state dinner was held in 1874 by President Ulysses Grant for King David Kalakaua of Hawaii to strengthen trade. In 1959, President Dwight Eisenhower invited Nikita Khrushchev, the leader of the Soviet Union, because he wanted to thaw Cold War tensions after the launch of Sputnik. In 2015, President Barack Obama hosted President Xi Jinping of China, before which the two countries negotiated for weeks over an arms control accord for cyberspace. Washington state dinners are aimed at strengthening political partnerships overseas, and Prime Minister Modi knows this well. But he seems to have hit a home run, all while cracking up his audience.